Hello everybody, I am Ben from Team Panic. So we're going to do a bit of a beta weight build stream, and tonight I'm actually joined by Mr. BK. Do you want to say hello?
Hello.
Yeah, so we're doing a bit of a beta weight build stream tonight. I am back in 123D Design, which is just my go-to for quick and speedy builds. This build, we might have to convert over to Fusion at some point, but for me, I prefer the speed of 123D if I'm just like throwing an idea down, which is basically what tonight is going to be. Yeah, so this in front of me is a standard 25mm motor, or at least a mock-up of one. And actually, I think the very first thing I'm going to do to this is change it, because we're going to build a ring spinner tonight, and so the wider our motor selection is, the wider the ring has to be for that. So if I just like grab hold of a circle here and pull that out, yeah, we need wider and wider rings to encompass wider and wider motors. So I kind of want to go with a brushless solution on these, the old 5-minute brushless conversion, which are actually a little bit shorter than these, because this is 51.5mm and a brushless conversion, which I do have one in front of me. It's like 37.5 instead. So that's going to help quite a lot. Also, I'm not sure that these are quite the same brushless conversions that are used everywhere, but these are the ones I have. So so we want to reduce that. Where did I put my calculator down? Cannot be bothered doing mental maths tonight. $14mm. That is actually going to help quite a lot. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, that's going to be so much better. The other thing too is ring spinners are an interesting design concept. And if you put the reels right in the middle of the ring spinner, you actually have problems with the whole ring torquing the robot round and spinning the robot inside itself. So we're actually going to try and put the ring or the motors further back than that, I think. And if we move, let's do 10mm gap between them. The problem with this though is I don't actually quite know where the center of the ring is going to be. I guess we're going to have to work this out. Yes, my last ring spinner was, oh yeah, ages ago. I'm not even fully sure when my last ring spinner was. It was a very, very, very long time ago. It was one of my first designs, actually, an ant weight ring spinner. I've kind of given up on the whole idea of an ant weight ring spinner though, because yeah, there's just not a lot of weight in ant weights.
You could have made it a shuffler and add a bit more weight to it.
Actually, I would love to build a shuffler ring spinner. That would be hilarious. Actually, a walker ring spinner, like a full-on walker weight bonus ring spinner, would be so good as well.
Honestly, I would, but the issue is the only shuffling mechanism I know how to build effectively means the ring is going to be a bit tall. So
just make it an undercutter. Just push the ring all the way down to the floor.
that's one way to do it, I guess.
Look, I mean, it might work. You're also talking to somebody who has really bad ideas on combat robots. You know, just constantly.
You're talking to the guy who made a crusher somehow working in that way. I think my bad ideas.
No, see, that's a good idea.
It's not a good idea on paper because you want to throw stuff out a wall after about 2 hours of trying to get it to bloody work.
Right.
And
yes.
cutting tools still by hand is not fun.
Ooh.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, that would have been quite the pain, I would imagine. This is why I've typically try and avoid any of that type of thing if possible. Yeah, getting weapons laser cut is just like magical, mostly because you don't have to deal with anything else.
I don't have that benefit, sadly, because all the laser cutting places near me are a bit pricey.
Yep. Fair enough. That's definitely a thing that can happen for sure. And this is one of the things about 123D design is I'm having to like stack things on top of each other to find centers so I can work out where everything actually lives.
This is why Fusion 360 is so much easier to use. On Fusion
Yeah,
360, I think CAD.
I mean, it is in some ways, but like the reason I like doing it this way so much is because I can just like CAD up a motor, plonk it down in space, and then just like move it over here if I need it over there. Whereas in Fusion, if I do that, like to get this motor in space, I need 2 or 3 sketches to like line everything up properly. So I don't know, it just takes me longer and it's more conceptually difficult, I feel. But once you kind of get around that, Fusion is quite nice. It's just a case of, getting around that. So, and like I said, I will certainly, oh geez, that's a massive, massive ring. Okay, that we don't want because that's already 78 mil. Oh, yeah, okay. We're going to need to move these wheels a lot closer to the center than I was kind of imagining. Put them about there. And we've got people in the chat saying hello. We've got David of Smeg and Mad Cats Robotics. So hello to you guys.
Hello.
And am I going to do a compact design or low and wide design? Probably low and wide. So the wheels that I've got CADed in here, these are actually the same size as my ant weight wheels. They're 40 mil tall. So do I have one here? Yes, I do. For comparison, if I throw this up to the camera, that's your 25 mil gear motor, and this is the wheel that's going to be going on that. It's going to be quite low. Actually, no, those aren't 40 mils. Those are like 35 mils. So a little bit bigger than that, but not a huge amount bigger than that. Because the taller I go, the harder it is to protect the ring. So I want to keep the whole robot squat as I possibly can make it. It does mean fitting batteries into this thing is probably going to be a bit of a pain, but we're going to cross that bridge when we come to it, I think. I might have to make up some weird battery packs that are made of smaller amp hour batteries run in series so I can actually fit them into the space of the chassis.
So, kind of like what Rob did with his really, really small wedge ring that he made for Beetles.
Yeah, like Lolo Man for sure. Not going to say I'm not somewhat inspired by that. I've kind of been meaning to at least take a crack at doing a joke version of Lolo Man, which is a bit of an interesting thing to say because Lolo Man was kind of a joke robot to begin with, so...
It was a joke robot, but it was surprisingly good.
It was very, very effective.
In arenas with no pits as well, which is even the more amazing thing about it.
Yeah, well that's it. Being able to muscle a fight when there isn't a pit for you to hold on to is very, very impressive. And hello Chris in the chat, who's building a half-scale T800. That's pretty cool. And yes, we're going for a beta weight ring spinner. So these motors are brushless converted 25 millimeter gear motors in here at the moment. So I'm just kind of trying to jiggle around my spacings to see how small I can make the ring, because that's kind of one of the things I want to do. Although Realistically, I guess I could make just a really giant ring, but every extra cubic centimeter means extra weight into the thing, so it is a bit of a trade-off in that regard. It would help if I had aligned these so that this was in the center and I could actually see where my ring was going to be. And how tall is this? 10 mil. I'm probably going to do a 5 mil ring, so let's just drop the ring spacing down as well. 2.5 mil, so that we've got a 5 mil ring, so I actually know where things are going to sit. So saw 36 drills going on eBay for cheap and was thinking about a heavyweight 36 wheel drive Lolo man. Oh my god, that would be amazing. I would love to see somebody build a Lolo man, slap an overhead bar on it, and take it to BattleBots.
I think it'd be kind of unlikely it would get in, to be honest.
I don't know. I mean, you'd have to do something weird with it, I think. Like, I'd do something like, I'd call it like the blue square and then paint the whole thing to like camouflage into the blue square on the BattleBox floor.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be an interesting little experiment anyway. And yes, I have been looking at Mr. Speed Squared for inspiration. There's been quite a number of videos that they've posted during their build stuff. So both for Mr. Speed Squared 1 and Mr. Speed Squared 2. Mr. Speed Squared 2, it's actually kind of a shame because they made a lot of changes to their ring that should have made it a lot more shock mounted, and then they had issues with the spin up rather than the actual like ring deforming, which is what they had problems with in the first series they were in. So
honestly, the only thing I can remember about Mr. Speed Squared, or whatever it is, the second one, all I remember is when I was watching it live, I just remember just watching the fight, and then all of a sudden I just saw it ping up for a moment, like just freak out for a moment in front of me, and then just go back down below the polycub wall, so I couldn't see it.
Right. Yeah.
That's all I can remember.
It did go a bit crazy for sure. Actually, I was over for, it must have been Series 8, Series 9, whatever Mr. Speed Squared 2 happened. I did actually fly over to the UK and watch one filming of that and got to meet the guys that built Mr. Speed Squared. And I was like, oh my god, I love ring spinners, and you've built a heavyweight ring spinner. This is the best day ever. And then, yeah, I don't think I saw it fight in the filming session I watched, and then I went on to watch the series of Robot Wars and saw how poorly it did, and I was like, oh you guys, oh no. Yeah, so it's one of those things. I really love ring spinners, but building viable ring spinners is a challenge. So let's see where chat's at the moment. People saying it's 5 a.m. Yeah, sorry, time zones are a thing, and living in Australia, I'm like on the other side of the world to most people. And will this have googly eyes so that it matches Annie? Maybe. I haven't decided on a theme for this thing yet, because this is the very conceptual early doors stage. So I might give it a face, and if it does have a face, it will definitely have googly eyes, because of course. What I do need to work out though is what motor I want to do, because this is going to be quite thin. So I've got two options of motors. I've got a 5010, which is just insane. Like, this thing can YOLO drive a Beetle on its own, so it would be totally okay to run the ring. Or I could put in some like tiny little motors, which I've got a couple in front of me, like a 2804, like this little guy up here. So like this, yeah, Where's the camera? There's the camera. Size comparison of these things. The 5010 is probably the better idea, but at the same time, like getting it to fit and all the batteries to fit is, possibly going to be an issue. Although, let's see what diameter this thing is. I mean, it should be 50 mil. And it is. Would you look at that? First time brushless numbering actually makes any kind of sense. Let's just do a really rough gauge at this. Yeah, 50 by 20, that'll be fine. It's not perfect, but all I need to do is get it somewhat making sense in here. Why does it do that? Do that. There. For whatever reason, 123D design does not like snapping circles to the outside of other circles, which is a bit of a pain. But we can do it this way instead. 53 mil, okay. Perfect. Yeah, so other people talk about other ring spinners in chat. Yes, Ringmaster was an interesting ring spinner. I mean, it's a HAL rocket design, so it's got money thrown at it like crazy. That one I think was the CNC'd magnesium robot, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Which, that is insane. Like, the fact that somebody was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy billet magnesium and build a combat robot out of it. Like,
Well, you say that, and Hal's done that for Duck 3? I think that's what it is. So I was looking at his videos, not for any particular reason, and both chassis are magnesium, just CNC'd, and I'm thinking, how much money do you put into this?
a lot. He was one of the first teams to bring multiple robots with him to BattleBots, as far as I know. And this was, a couple of seasons ago when that was a very, very rare thing. But HAL was bringing, like 3 ducks, and each duck is a complete duck with 4 drive motors and sets of batteries and switches and like all of the redundancies and stuff that he's got going on. Yeah, he certainly has some money to throw at this, that's for sure.
That is true.
Also, that motor does not look as bad as I thought it was going to. That 5010 actually leaves some level of space for other things, because I kind of want to throw batteries in through here, and then I've still got a bit of space around the sides. Although I do need to put in pulleys that will hold everything in place. Although I should probably be able to get away with 3 when I've got the motor probably acting as another pulley. So I'll probably do like 1 either side and then 1 at the back, which was technically be 4 points of holding. That might make the ring okay. This is the other big problem with ring spinners, is keeping the ring in place. And welcome, Jacob. So we're designing a beta weight ring spinner. Now, I will also say, as a bit of a heads up for people, this is like months off at this point. Like, if I manage to get this ring spinner going for March, which is, I believe, my next event, I will be surprised. There's a lot of work, obviously, left to go into this yet, but I figured I'd sit down and share the very, very first processes and steps that I take in terms of like laying out a bunch of stuff and making sure that it all sits down nicely and plays together somewhat okay. Yeah, so we've got our wheels and our weapon motor. I think, yeah, next step is going to be putting in the other pulleys. Now, the big thing is, what's our radius here? 78. So we don't really want to go too much smaller than 7 mil. Although, we need bearings, and what we're going to do is 17 mil outer diameter bearings. So 17 mil outer diameter bearings is what? 16 is 8.5. And how tall are these bearings? Let me just double check a stat real quick. 6 mil. Cool. So that's my bearing size. And my bearing needs to fit inside the pulley. But I'm probably going to run this as a bit of a C channel, I think. Yes, definitely will guard around the weapon motor to protect the electronics. The actual plan for this is I kind of want to do this as a clamshell, so a bottom section and a top section, and I'll probably mill the two sections and then like bolt them together through that way. I might have to add a little flat hatch in the top to actually get access to batteries and stuff to be able to charge it, but yeah, the whole idea is to have a big thick ring of HDPE kind of around the inside to stop anything from going top or bottom of the ring and slamming into it, and yeah, getting electronics and batteries and all of the yummy stuff that will be inside there. So yeah, so this is, yeah, this guy down here is our bearing, and like I said, I kind of want, so we've got a 5 mil ring. I kind of want to do, if we take this and copy it and expand it, so probably 2 or 3 mil, like that, and then upper mil. So now we've got our bearing sticking out the bottom of this piece. Now our bearing is, what did I say, 8.5. We might actually just take that, move that straight up here, and that's 6 mil depth, isn't it? Yeah, so that should actually be okay, but we'll probably take off 0.5 mil, I reckon. So it's 5.5 mil, which is a lot closer, tighter grab to the ring. And then mirror this whole setup. Actually, let's just do it the easy way with a mirror. That, this, and a mirror. Mirror plane. Oh, I've stuffed something up. Oh, that's what I've done. I haven't grabbed a solid, I just grabbed... let's try that all over again. There we go, and then mirror plane, bam. So I probably could have done that faster. Oh well. But there you go. This is kind of the pulley setup that I want to run. So we'll have this nice gap in the middle here that's actually the... what is that? Let's get rid of that. Yeah, so I have this nice gap in the middle where the actual pulley runs, and I think that depth is probably not right, because what do we got? How much actual depth have we got on that? We've got 3 mil is not a lot. Let's bump that up to 4, because that way we know the ring's not going to escape these pulleys. Let's see what people are saying in chat. Someone's saying it's weird to be in a stream chat where you're in the normal time zone. Hey, another Australian. Welcome. Yeah, it is weird, huh? There's so many people out there that do stuff from the States and the UK that, yeah, being in the Australian time zone feels so off sometimes. And then people talking about upgrading computers to be able to do CAD stuff, which, yeah, fair enough. That's, yeah, that's definitely a thing. A lot of CAD software is very, very processor intensive. So,
unlike a Tinker CAD, which is just online based, so as long as you have a decent Wi-Fi, you'll be able to use it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And look, I 100%, yeah, like back Tinkercad. I use Tinkercad for a bunch of things. I just find 123D slightly easier than Tinkercad, so I still use this.
It's honestly just down to what you personally prefer at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, if you don't have a decent computer, Tinkercad is 100% the way to go. And Tinkercad, I think, is still one of the most powerful mesh editors. Like if I download something off of Thingiverse and I need to like punch a hole in it or put some text on it or whatever, I just dump it straight into Tinkercad and do that. I don't bother putting it into any other CAD software because Tinkercad's just that good.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Since I do game design at university, Tinkercad can actually measure up to them sometimes in terms of just mesh editing.
That's
and it's just
insane, but very fair. We are moving this thing, get it over to the edge. There we go. So there you go. That is kind of what that looks like. Obviously, this center circle that I've got going on at the moment, this is not actually the ring. The ring itself will be more like, let's grab out, let's do 15 mil of steel and do that and do that and move this guy out the way and do a little subtract. There we go. So this is more what we're actually looking at here with the ring spinner. And you can see we've got our little runner in here, and what we're actually probably going to do is copy this into the motor. So at the moment this is the exact same size as the motor, but probably what I'm going to do is back this up a couple of mil, and then that will give me kind of 2 mil of silicon that I can mold into place there so that I've got a nice running surface to like spin the ring up really quickly, and we'll see how we go. And yes, Tinkercad is free, and yeah, you can just sign up to there, like to an Autodesk account, and use that and go from there. And Autodesk, same people who make Fusion 360, so if you eventually then go into Fusion 360, you have an Autodesk account you can use for that, although there is extra sign-up-y stuff with Fusion 360.
Honestly, Autodesk do a lot of other programs as well. One of them being a games design one called Maya, which is what I use at university, and it's basically just everything good about Tinkercad, Fusion, and other ones just mixed into one. Apart from it's not for engineering, so it's not precise.
Right, yeah.
Which is one issue. I think I finished my 360 lifter.
Oh, that's cool.
How the fuck am I going to 3D print this?
Yeah, that can be the problem sometimes. I am trying to decide if I go really sketchy or if I don't go really sketchy. Because having 3 pulleys and then the drive seems a little sketchy. But if I add more in and take away the ones that I don't need, that's a lot. There you go. 5 and the drive, that seems a little bit less sketchy. Maybe.
I think 6 might be a good balance.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would be 6 with the motor, because the motor still does kind of act as that. Yeah, that could work. The other thing too, I have no idea if I'm actually going to be able to fit everything inside of this, because yeah, 40mm wheels isn't particularly big wheels. It doesn't give me a lot of space to play with inside here. How big are our pulleys? Because we need to make sure that not only when we 17.5, that's not too bad. That'll give us a couple of mil of plastic either side, and then bolt heads and stuff through the middle. And yeah, if you're wanting to learn CAD but you can't have your computer do it, then 100% yeah, run Tinkercad, because like, yeah, as we've been saying, it's decent software for sure. And somebody's saying do 2 pulleys offset behind the motor instead of 1. That I think is an idea. Let's see if I can just like get this to work. Let's see if I can just rotate these, and does this work? Do 180, where's that? Go to 180. Okay. Yeah, so I'd need to use to try a different setup to do that. All right, let me see if I can find one that puts pulleys where we want them with 2 back there. Because I just not that one. We want circular pattern. This guy, that guy, that guy. Let's just start with 12. Okay. 11 maybe. No. 10? There we go. That's kind of what I want. Those 2 back there. So if we turn off that, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that. Actually, I could probably keep that in. That would be 6, and then the motor as well. That would probably be pretty decent. The only thing I'm worried about there is, as I add more of these, I actually start having to add weapon bolts to do that. Which, yeah, that does start to get a bit weighty. But I guess if I set it up for something like this, then I can always at some point get rid of the 2 side ones, this one and this one. We can just like yoink those out of there and run those 4, because that's still a decent spread, and the motor as well is going to help out. So that is possible. We'll put those back in for now. We'll leave them in the CAD until I decide that actually no, I can't put those in. So, and what did I say these pulleys were? These pulleys were 17.5, 19.5 by the time you put the tops and bottoms on. Okay, so that still gives us, 20 mil top and bottom to get top plates and bottom plates and stuff in. So I think that'll work. I mean, the other thing we can do is if we need to either expand the ring out or move the drive system a little closer to the center so we can get bigger wheels in place. Which, might have to happen because, 40 mil is starting to seem tight. It's not very common for a beetle weight, so. Especially considering I use them in my ant weights. Okay. Well, let's give this a whirl actually. So what I want to do is I want to put down a ground plane and see if I can level everything off against the ground. That's the ground there. How far are we hovering in the air right now? We're hovering 13 millimeters in the air. Drop all of this down, 13 mil. This will give us an idea of how close we are to everything, which that's close. That's closer than I'd like for sure. 10 mil between the motor and the base and the ground. But I guess I'm gonna have to throw some standoffs in under here anyway, because we need something to run on. We can't just run on weapon bolts or anything. Yeah. Alright, well, the other thing I guess I can do is I can throw some bearings into all of this mess. Because basically I think what we're going to need to do is just jam these until it's only about a mil sticking out top and bottom for those. Need as much space as we possibly can in this thing. This is the thing though, this is why, yeah, I have seen Q as well. Like I said, I've loved ring spinners from like when I was 8 years old, basically. And my first ever build was a ring spinner, an ant weight ring spinner. I keep tabs on anybody building ring spinners, much the same way I keep tabs on anybody building multi-brains, because they're an interesting thing, and I do like them, and I do want to build them. I've been building other things more recently, so. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I have seen Chris's videos, but if not, I will jump on YouTube after stream and yeah, go back through those, make sure I haven't missed anything that he's done, because everybody approaches ring spinners slightly differently, which is kind of cool actually. What I'm gonna do now though is we are going to get our base back in here, and we're going to actually start to work out our spacing for this. I'm kind of thinking that I'm just going to do this as a single flat plate right now, but it will probably be a milled piece of HDPE. I've recently got some really thick sheets of HDPE, so I can actually like probably mill this whole thing in 2 halves and clam it together, which would be really good. 3 mil up, okay. 2, 3, okay. So that is touching on that bearing at the bottom. And this guy, let's go all the way up to there and make sure we measure this out so we know 4.5. Okay. So interesting. There you go. That's our little sandwich of a ring spinner to start with. This is what it's kind of looking like at this point. Yeah, let's get our ground plane back in here and see how much space we have between the bottom of the design and the ground. 5.5 mil. That's interesting. All right, I'm just gonna go AWOL for half a second and grab Annie's from over here. Annie, where are you? Because what I want to know is Annie's weapon bolt head up here, how deep that is, because this will give me an idea of how deep the weapon bolt heads will be for this thing. So we'll see how we go. It is 5.2. Huh, okay, that's better than I was expecting. So 5.5 isn't actually far off the money here. We can probably ground this down a little bit or even countersink it into the plastic to make it up in a little bit. People saying it looks a little bit like Battle Royale with cheese. Fair enough. They were an interesting design. They weren't quite a ring spinner. They were like more an overhead spinner with a hat, I guess.
Or technically a mid cutter in a weird way, I guess.
Did they actually have anything in the burger bun at the top, or was it all in the under bit and then they had the spinner like over top of their robot? That was the thing.
I don't know. Actually, let me just look at Hypershock's video. Hypershock fighting it.
Yes, fair enough. My favorite thing about that team is when they did their AMA, one of the questions I asked them was, what's your plan if you go against something really low? And their plan was to drive at it at full speed and then brake really hard so that their weapon tilted forwards and touched the ground.
That is smart.
Yeah, I love it's ingenious. but also just a little on the ridiculous side all at the same time. It was perfect for them. Like, yeah. And I think a lot of the time, if you do a ring spinner that is just like this with like a plate top and a plate bottom, you are going to end up looking a little bit pancakey and a little bit battle royale with cheesy. I think it might be unavoidable. So, yeah. Although part of me is now thinking about doing a bacon blade.
I don't think they actually had anything on the top bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because anything you had up there, you would have to like run wires for it up through the axle for the weapon, which means you're hollowing out the axle for your weapon, which does make it less effective or makes it a little bit weaker in some respects.
That's true.
The Battle Royale with Cheese team are now like a bunch of other teams. Battle Royale with Cheese is part of, they were part of Scorpios, and they were part of Hijinks, and they're part of, who else was on that team?
There's also Gloom, I think it's Gloomweaver, the spider robot.
Gloomweaver, yes, Gloomweaver was, yeah. So the Battle Royale with Cheese, when they left the sport, what happened was the whole team just fragmented and they got picked up by various other teams. So I'm pretty sure all of the people in Battle Royale with Cheese, at least the main ones in Battle Royale with Cheese, are now part of just other teams. So, yeah. They didn't go anywhere. They just didn't bring Battle Royale with Cheese back to the Battle Box, which...
I think it's more down to BattleBots not wanting goofy gimmicks anymore. In terms of costumes and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's fair. I mean, that's, yeah. Part of the thing that I'm not doing again, because I did the, like, Mad Science theme for Bolt, and I'm not theming that heavily again. That's just, yeah, it wasn't what they were looking for.
I think that's something that you should do for live events and stuff, but not really for... Not for BattleBots, because they just don't want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, look, I mean, if Buggle Season 3 ever happens, I have been very seriously considering going, like, full Michael Jackson costume, but we'll see how we go with that. I'm definitely not making any promises, and I have no idea if Buggle 3 is happening, so...
Yeah. I'm hoping Buggle 3 happens, because I do really want to take part. Just with... Even if I don't even get to fight, just being there would be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was... Season 2 was so much fun. Obviously, I was a competitor, and, so I was having lots of fun because I got to fight robots. But even without that, yeah, just the vibe of the place and all the builders around and stuff, it was a great event to be at.
Honestly, the only issue I had was mainly just some of the judging was a bit questionable. But then again, I can't really complain because Kane and is it Ian?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, both of them have been judging stuff for a long time, so I can't really argue against them because they've got that much experience. Is the case. It's not the case of BattleBots where they've got competitors. It's more the case of they've been doing it for years. They actually know their stuff pretty well.
Yeah, look, I mean, my theory with judging is always the same. It's a case of, nobody's perfect. People are going to make mistakes sometimes. It's just going to happen. And whether you agree with the judge's decision or not, at the end of the day, as a competitor in a sport, a judge's decision is the final decision. It's the final word. And you can think that they're wrong until you're black and blue in the face, but it doesn't change the fact that they've made a ruling, and that's that at the end of the day. So you pick yourself up and move on. Like, it's just...
Yep.
You just got to do it. So... And, look, the other thing, too, is if you lose a judge's decision in a way you weren't expecting, you can always learn from an experience like that.
That is
Personally,
very true.
there is a couple of things that I would do differently for a Buggle Season 3, which I think would tip the judges' criteria more in my favor. And yeah, I mean, that's all the learning experience out of having been at Buggle Series 2. So,
That is very true.
um,
I think like the main thing that Nate probably learned during Buggle 2 was mainly don't actually go to the don't pin
yeah.
because
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think
that's,
that
that's
was...
the one thing I've noticed when it actually comes to just different countries in general. They class pinning in different ways.
Mhm.
In the US, they count pinning as aggression and control. In the UK, I think it's more control rather than both.
Yes, yeah, and look, I mean, both Nate and I had to play a bit of catch up. Realistically, like neither of us were used to British rules, so both of us had a bit of a okay, this is combat robots, and I know what combat robots is, but the rules here are just ever so slightly different.
I think you probably didn't have it as bad as Nate.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I would 100% agree with that. But yeah, fighting in a different country with a slightly different rule set it does throw you off just a little bit. The other thing that kind of threw me off was the pit not auto dropping and it having to be a like you go over and push the button thing. Because here, when we fight, pits will drop somewhere between minute 1 and the end of minute 2. Like they're just going to drop sometime in there, so you don't have to worry about it too much. As a spinner, that means you've got the first minute and maybe up to 2 minutes to do your thing and get the damage in before the pits open. But it also means that like if you lose your weapon, you know that the pit is going to open, so you've got an option to do that later in the fight. Whereas at Bugglebots, like you had to actively seek out the pit button to do that. And I think that's one of the things that if I could go back and do the 10-way rumble again, right at the very end when it was Daedalus on Annie and nobody else was moving, I charged headlong at Daedalus and I think I would go for the pit button next time. I would ignore Daedalus completely and I'd go for the pit button. Because it
Wasn't the pit already open at that point?
Hey?
I think the pit was already open during the 10 block rumble.
It didn't open at all in the 10-way rumble. Not in the last chance 10-way rumble. Because Gear Down for What died in front of it fairly early. Like, he died in front of the pit button. So,
Yeah, it was pretty much blocked.
Yeah, but I think I could have cleared him out of the way, and if I could clear him out of the way and hit the pit button, then there was a chance things went a different way, because Daedalus was kind of pinballing semi-controlled around the arena, and if the pit was open, maybe he would have gone down the pit. So...
There it is.
Let's see what people are saying. Teams with themes. Kraken is doing so well so far this current season. Not that I'm watching it, of course, because no legal way to do so in Australia. Yeah, Kraken is doing pretty well so far. I mean, their fights have been entertaining, and I think strength of schedule is going to play really, really well for Kraken this season. I think. Obviously, I have no idea what's actually going to happen because I wasn't at BattleBots this year, which is why I feel comfortable talking about it. Buggle Season 2 is the best. Agreed. Yeah, agreed. Kraken was quite unlucky in some of their calls and stuff. They have had a very strong strength of schedule.
I don't. Kraken has had really strong opponents this season, but then the thing is, so you look at someone like Rotator. I'm just going to bring up the fact that Rotator is a good robot, but its pedigree shouldn't be a reason it makes it to round of 32, due to basically its only win being. Basically, it's just getting bullied by Beta wasn't really the best performance for Rotator.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
It's a strong spinner, but that fight proved that Rotator still has the same weakness as last season, which I'm surprised they didn't fix, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Rotator is an interesting one because you would think that they would fix that, especially when that's their whole plan against Tombstone, right?
Yeah.
Like that's that's their play, so they should be able to defend against their own play. Um, but
But
I mean, the other thing too is that there is a lot to be said for the "if it ain't seriously broke, don't fix it" thing. I mean, uh, as much
true,
as
but
I love Will and I love Hypershock, the fact that they completely rebuild the machine every single season, I think, is really starting to let them down.
last season it was more of an improved version, but still a complete rebuild.
Yeah, but the problem with that is like new bot gremlins are a thing. Like your first couple of fights with a robot, you will find gremlins, and if you're just rebuilding your entire robot every season, you've got new bot gremlins every single season, which is just
That's a yes. That's a yes and no. It depends on the actual people building it as well. No offense to Will, anyone, they are amazing builders. But then you look at someone like Ellis with Magnetar and realizing that's a brand new robot out pretty much finished days before the event, and it does so well. With the only issue being its self-writer is kind of that's just insane when you realize.
yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah, I think Ellis is kind of on another level, really, in some respects. Like some of the stuff that he builds is insane.
The neon fucking scares me.
Mm,
I've not been in the arena with it, but when I was speaking to Ellis, he did say that if he fought my heavyweight with it, he could KO my heavyweight with neon.
yeah, well, I mean, it started life as
The
it was
is it Great White's Minibot?
yeah, but it had a name. It was like Minnow or Ramray or something. Like it's some fish that lives around sharks is what they named it. Um,
Like that thing in King of Bots 1 was nearly KOing people.
oh yeah, no, he
That's
was hitting wheels and doing serious damage to wheels, like in the heavyweight weight classes with it, which is insane. Um, yeah.
no. I think Neon can probably go through 2mm hard ox on heavyweights, and probably like through quite a lot of stuff. I kind of want to see a heavyweight Neon.
Oh man, I
Then again, that would just be Valkyrie, so
well, kind of. I mean, the other thing too is you've got to think about BattleBot's weight limits as well, because BattleBots limits your weapon weight. So Neon's weapon weight balance is, I think, too heavy for it to be a full heavyweight, because you can only put 80 pounds into a weapon at BattleBots nowadays. Yeah.
that is true.
So, where am I going with this? I am trying to increase the size of this so that I've got a weapon pulley as well. No, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to, if I could maths properly today, that would work out better in my favor. 16 and a half. I'm just getting kind of lazy with this design and just copying and pasting a whole bunch of stuff everywhere, but it should work. So, there we go. That's our mock-up weapon pulley for the moment, which, damn, this thing is kind of a monster. That's taking up a whole lot of space. I very much think I'm going to have to extend the size of this. How big is the weapon right now? The weapon is 93mm radius. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I can 100% increase the size of this thing. That's not even the same size as Annie's weapon bar right now.
Damn.
Yeah, so Annie's weapon bar is 100mm radius. So we've got so much space left in here. Huh, okay. That's interesting. What's going to be the best way to do this? Because I think I probably want to go a whole bunch further out. Let's see if we can go. Whoa, let's go. How far out is that? 133, so 260. That's pretty decent. I mean, I have no way of knowing weights while I'm in 123D design. That's part of the reason I would move some of this over into Fusion, is being able to access weights pretty quickly and easily. But yeah. Oh man, if we could build that where the whole robot does fit in this space and then just have a giant ring, that would be insane. How big is
that would be insane, but it'd probably be quite heavy.
Yeah, a 55mm thick ring. Oh man, that would be very, very heavy. Actually, let's measure. Nope, this guy. Area. No, I can't do that conversion on the fly. Yeah, but that would be just insanely heavy. What is people saying in the chat? How many teeth will it have? It will have one tooth and it will have two teeth. I will get different rings cut to fight different opponents because, yeah, fighting verts and horizontals and wedges and things, you need different numbers of teeth to fight those robots. It's just rock, paper, scissors. So you do what you can to be on the right side of the rock, paper, scissors triangle. And that involves having different weapon teeth configurations for your robots. And I only recently found out that there are robot combat events outside of televised ones. Can anybody recommend Aussie channel sites to follow for local events? There's a bunch of stuff on Facebook. Robo Wars Australia is on Facebook, and then there is Adelaide Robot Combat, Melbourne Combat Robotics, and then there's a couple of other local events as well. Well, and apparently Discord has died, so that's fun. Let me just see where that's going. I'm not sure. Can you hear me anymore, Mr. BK?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Hey,
Discord just completely died for me for a moment. I was like, why is there no audio? Oh, everything is dead. Great.
Fun times all round. All right. Well, I think actually, because we're at about an hour here, I think this is where I'm going to stop for the evening, because while I want to extend the range of this, and I'll probably push it out another 30 mil, 40 mil, because that will give me enough space for batteries and ESCs and stuff. At the moment, there's not really a lot of space in here to jam stuff. Like this is a 2 centimeter by 2 centimeter cube. It's probably 40 mil wide gap by 100 mil or so. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of space in there for a decent sized battery and decent sized ESCs that would be able to run this giant motor at the front that's going to run the ring. So pushing out to this kind of edge space is probably going to be my best bet, and it shouldn't be too hard to do that. Yeah, so people are also saying it's also easier to get into building than people think. Just give it a go. Who would win, Razor or Hypnodisc? That's an interesting one. Thoughts, Mr. BK?
Well, it depends on what version of Hypnodisc.
That is a fair point.
Because if Shant can get through its disc, Razor can.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say.
The big thing there though is, can Razor stop Hypnodisc's disc long enough to get through it without taking enough?
Probably because the spin up time is quite long on Hypnodisc, and Razor isn't slow, so probably get on quite quick. I would have to say Razor, but we all know what will happen. They'll just bring out the Razor cage, and then people will say Hypnolisc cheated.
The ultimate way to defeat Razor, the anti-Razor
To
cage,
be,
of course.
actually, if you think about it, the Razor Cage is technically a Hypno Disc. If you think about it, it's just Tornado's version because he had the big flywheel.
Yeah, yeah, that's a point for sure. Yeah, I think too though. Yeah, the thing that Quantum and Spectre showed when in their respective seasons is that in this day and age, if you want to build a crusher, it needs to be fast across the floor, fast to crush, and have a decent amount of defense to it. And you can't just rely on like a single scoop wedge at the front. You have to be well defended everywhere if you're going to win fights with a crusher.
That is very true.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming along and watching me mess around with some 3D design stuff, which I'm now going to have to at least partially redo. I think I like the layout of all the pulleys and where the motors and stuff are. I'm just going to like push it all out to the edge case around here so that you know, we've actually got more space inside. I might even also move my motors further out too, just give us a little bit more drive turn and stuff. But that's going to finish off this stream. So thank you guys for hanging out. That's it's been good fun. Just going to throw on over to our holding screen for a little bit. Let you guys finish up your comments in chat, and then we'll drop off.